And welcome to our lecture on interpersonal communication channels. There are various ways people communicate with each other, and the method chosen can significantly affect the interaction's nature. Communication can range from face-to-face discussions, which are complex, to simple gestures like leaving a note. How we choose to communicate also shapes how the conversation unfolds. For example, channel richness. This refers to the number of ways a message can be sent, such as through sight, sound, or touch. Channel intimacy is about how much attention and engagement a channel requires. For instance, it's easy to ignore junk mail that's left on the counter, but when someone knocks on your door, you're more likely to respond. Channel synchrony. This is the ability to receive and respond to a message in real time. So when you text someone, you typically expect a pretty quick response. But if you were to send a postcard to a friend or family member, you know that it can take much longer for them to receive it. Face-to-face communication is the gold standard of communication. It's the most complex and allows for the richness exchange of information between two people. When you're face to face, you can just sort of pick up on more, right? You can see their expressions, you can hear their tone, you can smell or even touch things that might be part of the conversation. And these cues all help you better understand the message. The better you can understand a message, the better decisions that you're able to make about what the other person is trying to say. When you're talking to someone in person, you tend to pay more attention to them. You're both fully engaged. You can tell right away if the interaction is immediate and important. Plus, it all happens in real time. You get the instant feedback, you can respond right away, and it's most synchronized form of communication because everything is happening right then and there in real time. Using video chats and similar digital tools adds a whole new layer to how we communicate. Platforms like FaceTime, Google Meet, Zoom, Teams, these really let us not only hear, but also see the person that we're speaking with. It's almost like being there in person, except for a slight delay due to technology. While it's not quite as rich as an experience as face to face, it's very close. One downside, though, is that the camera can only capture so much. So, not all nonverbal cues are picked up, and people might be doing things off screen that affect the conversation's intimacy. For example, someone could be multitasking and not fully focusing on the video chat conversation. When you're chatting on the phone, whether a cell phone or a landline, it's got a decent level of richness in terms of communication channels. You're using just your voice to send messages, but that voice carries a lot of information like tone, volume, pitch, and other sort of vocal nuisances that add a layer to what you're saying. Even though it's not as rich as some other forms of communication that we spoke about, phone calls are pretty much live with just tiny delays due to some tech stuff. Plus, when your phone rings or vibrates, it's hard to ignore. So you usually get into the conversation pretty quickly. That intimacy gives phone calls a real time feel, but since you can't see the person you're speaking with, it's common to multitask during phone calls. You might be cooking, walking, at the gym, or doing something else while you chat. This multitasking can lead to less focus and attention, which is something researchers have noticed in distracted phone conversations. When it comes to not so rich communication, think about texting. We'll dive more into this in a future chapter, but for now, let's talk about the basics. So, texting is pretty straightforward. You're basically just reading words on a screen. Sure, people use emojis to add a little bit of flair, but at the end of the day, it's all about what you see. In the past, texting was seen as sort of synchronous, meaning that people would reply pretty quickly. It was faster than email, which could sit in your inbox for a while before you ever saw it. Remember the days when you had to log into a computer to check your email? Email would come in batches, and you would just decide which ones to read or which ones to read first. But now with smartphones, things have changed. Texts and emails are sort of blending together. Text are more immediate. You get the ping or the buzz right away. Emails, on the other hand, don't have that immediate alert on your phone. Let's talk about handwritten or typed notes and letters, the old school way of messaging. These are like the OG of non-rich, non-synchronous communication. They're similar to text and emails in terms of richness, but they're definitely not as immediate. When you get a handwritten letter, it's like a blast from the past. There's one interesting part, though. Even though physical mail isn't as quick and isn't as convenient as a digital message, people still love getting letters. They love getting holiday cards, birthday cards, notes from their significant other. It still holds something special, a special value to them. There's just something special about holding a physical letter in your hands and knowing that someone took the time to write just to you. People often keep these letters as keepsakes much more than they ever would an email or a text messages. So these are the sort of things that people hold on to. Thank you so much.